The Saab AJ37 started development as early as 1957 as the Swedish aerospace company Saab decided that they wanted to manufacture a fighter jet that could take off and land from basically anywhere. They tried many designs, including VTOL designs, but eventually they settled on the AJ37, which has front-mounted canards with flaps on them that allow it to basically take off in no time at all, and thrust reverser on the rear to make it land in basically no time at all. This fighter jet was designed to be able to take off from basically just highways if the airfields of Sweden got taken out during some sort of World War III. The AJ37 entered service in the year 1970 and was retired in the mid-2000s, specifically 2007, and was widely regarded as one of the best interceptor role fighter jets of its time. It was only replaced by the incredible AJ39. In War Thunder, the AJ37 holds a pretty similar role, being a great interceptor. But for that, let's go to the game and talk about it more. The Viggen family in War Thunder is pretty vast, but as the title suggested, I'm going to be talking today about the base model AJ37, which I believe is one of the most underrated jets in the game. Now, for its performance stats, it goes about 1,200 miles per hour with a 25-second turn time, and it says it goes about Mach 2.1. I think it can go faster in the right conditions. In actual matches, though, I've never gone it above 1.8. The turn time is pretty significant, being 25 seconds, because that is on par with the Draken, which has a 25-second turn time as well, but it also has the Cobra button, which makes it turn a little bit better. But the Viggen has significantly more thrust than the Draken, making it feel a lot better in post-stall maneuvers, and it does get flaps on the canards here, but you can only drop those flaps at about 180 miles per hour, so it's not entirely something you'll be using all the time, but it can be used in a pinch, and we'll get into that later on in the video of me using it quite a bit to win dogfights. Now, for weapon loadouts, it gets the RB-24J air-to-air missile stock, which is kind of surprising because it also gets the RB-24, which is just an AIM-9B, and there's absolutely no point in using this because you get the J's stock. Now, you can also take 30mm cannon pods, and you can also take chaff and flare dispensers. You get 24 flares and 340 chaff, which you don't really need that chaff, but who am I to judge? I like to take one 30mm cannon and two RB-24Js and one chaff and flare pod for my air realistic and air sim battles. Now, for ground loadouts, it gets 120 kilogram high tail drag bombs and 120 kilogram low drag bombs. I prefer the 120 kilogram low drag bombs just because they have a bit further range, and it gets dumb rockets along with these manually guided in missiles, which aren't really all that usable. The real shining crown jewel of this plane's air-to-ground loadout is it can carry two Mavericks, the RB-75T and the RB-75. Now, I prefer the RB-75, even though it comes earlier in the research tree. For whatever reason, it has a much better seeker, a much wider field of view, so I prefer taking this over the RB-75Ts. And so for my sim ground loadouts, I will take the high or low tail drag on my outer pylons, and the RB-75T in the middle pylons, and the drop tank. Now, for fuel, I prefer to take no drop tank, but take 60% fuel, and that gets you about through one full engagement, maybe 2 or 3 kills, and back to the runway to land if you survived your first engagement. Now you may be saying, with only 2 missiles, this can't be that good of a plane, but in this video I get 2 aces, so stay tuned for that. And now we're going to go into some actual matches and show you the performance. Here we are in a match in the AJ37. Now, the general strat for flying this plane that I've found is to go to about 20,000 feet and kind of just go up and over the battlefield. The AJ37 is a pretty good dogfighter, but what you don't want to do is get caught up with 13 people and get jumped, because it does bleed speed really quickly in turns. And at this point in me trying to get footage, I don't have the G suit unlocked, which does hinder my performance quite a bit. So I lock up this F5, lob an RB24J at about 0.8 miles, and he goes down. Even with him shooting flares off, it was just too late for him. He had his afterburner on. The RB24J can sometimes ignore flares, and probably one of the biggest hindrance with it is that it's quite slow, and it won't, if someone's going supersonic and they're a mile out, it will not catch them whatsoever. So you got to be really close with these missiles, but they are pretty reliable at close range. So here I see this MiG-21, I dodge him, try and keep him from shooting his guns at me. He doesn't. We go into a bit of a merge here, but I see this F8U chasing me, and so I go into a bit of a jink. He can't get his guns on me either, and I re-engage this MiG-21 knowing that the F8 is not going to pay any attention. I shoot off his wing, go back to the airfield, land, come back, and I see a A-10 beneath me. Now my strategy here is trying to get above him and jump him where he cannot see me, but sadly for me, he does end up seeing me. He turns around, launches some flares. My seeker just goes for the flares. I'm not even going to try. I shoot a few bullets at him. Somehow I miss. Most of my shots get a hit, and I look behind me, and there's a tornado. Now, I'm kind of panicking because I've gone in a few dogfights with A-10s in the past in this plane, and A-10s will rock your world for whatever reason. I don't know why. They just do. So I dodge this tornado and stupidly decide I'm going to go for a head-on with the A-10, but I get a severe on him. He doesn't hit me. I re-engage this tornado, and he just runs for the entire match, and I can never catch up to him. I never kill him. I take off from the runway again after running out of fuel, and there's an F5 above the airfield. Now look at the performance of this thing. I'm going straight vertical and pretty well sustaining 400 miles per hour. Now the F5 dives beneath me. We do a few loops. He goes back up. I get behind him. I have my teammate who's in a Su-25 who's also pressuring him. I launch my missile. Sadly, it goes after flares. If I would have pulled a little more lead, it would have ignored his flares, but in the moment, I didn't think to do that. And we go into a bit of a swoop. I get another radar or missile lock on him. The missiles do have radar slaving. I pull a lot more lead this time. He flares. It doesn't matter. It ignores his flares, and he dies. So that is the match. That is 4 kills. That was a pretty good match. Now let's get to the ace. Sadly for the ace video, I forgot to, or I didn't forget, I actually just stopped recording for the video. I thought I got good enough clips, and then I proceeded to get an ace. So this whole video is going to be in a replay because it was just that good. I had to include it. Now, once again, I'm high. About 20,000 feet is where I started. I kind of dove down on some AV-8s, and this AV-8 starts to get in a dogfight with me. At this point, the AJ37 is, in fact, spaded. So it's got a bit better performance. I go into a dive, and I pull out my air brakes. Now, the thrust to weight on this is so good that I go up in the air brakes on to try and get my nose back on them, turn on my flaps, and you see how quickly the nose turns around, or the nose turns on the AV-8. The flaps really do help, but you have to engage them at about 180 miles per hour. So I launch my missile. He doesn't flare. He dies. Now I'm chasing another AV-8, and he goes up, but I hear in the corner of my ear something that is diving on me, so I dodge it. Turns out to be a Mirage. I debate whether I should go after the Mirage or the AV-8, and I'm like, I should go after the Mirage, but I look up at the Aviate one last time, and he is about to stall out his plane. So am I, but once again, the thrust to weight of this plane is so good that I'm holding about 230 going up at this Aviate, and he starts to dive out of his little maneuver he was pulling. I launch my guns. I don't think my guns were fully spaded or fully upgraded at this point, so they kind of missed a bit, but I end up clipping his wing. He goes down, and I look over, see the Mirage is re-engaging one of my teammates, and so I decide I'm going to try and engage him. I get a missile lock, but he turns in front of me, and I can't get the lock again, so I go head on, somehow kill him. He doesn't kill me, which is nice. So I decide I'm going to start heading back to the runway, but I see this F4 beneath me. I lob an RB-24J at him. He doesn't have any flares. He just takes it like it's nothing. That's 4 kills. We're getting up there now. I land, take off, and chase this F-106 for the entire length of the map, launch 2 missiles, spend nearly all my ammo, and do not kill him. I don't know how. Anyways, we're going back into the match here. We're pretty high up. There's 2 F-100s and 1 F-106 left in the match. I'm dogfighting this F-100, and I start getting the jump on him. I pull out my flaps at some point here, there they are, and get my nose turned on him like it's nothing. I can't actually see that he's dead in the actual game, so I launch my missile at him. I only get a kill assist, and then I take a missile to the back. Now, of course, it was from the F-106. This guy and I had beef this entire match. I decide I'm going to try and turn around on him because he looks like he's about to stall himself out trying to fight my teammate. I turn around, and sure enough, he is in fact about to stall out trying to fight my teammate, and I go to try and get a missile lock on him because I have 1 more missile left, and my nose, I lost my rudder, so my nose is just not obliging me at all whatsoever. So I do a few little loops. I'm worried about him trying to gain speed again. I eventually, by some miracle, get the missile lock, launch the missile. He decides he's not going to run. He's just going to pull some, I'm trying to slow down the missile maneuvers. It doesn't work. He dies. And that is an ace, an air realistic in the AJ37. Now, switching over to Sim. In this Sim match, I started off trying to do some general bombing, strafing runs on enemy ground units, just because at this point I finally unlocked the Mavericks and I wanted to try them out. Now, Mavericks are pretty darn slow. I'm launching at about probably 3 or 4 miles, and I can't see a thing because it's dark out and these Mavericks don't have thermals and you don't get a targeting pod. So I'm just firing blind. My first missile finally hits after I turn around, launch another missile, that also hits, and that's really about it for the Mavericks. They're pretty good, but if it's low visibility outside, don't even take them. It's not worth it. So I go in for some bombing runs. I got hit by a SPAA at some point here, and so my plane is damaged. I drop a bomb on that one, and it kills him. These bombs, although they're 160 kilograms, are pretty good. They can take out MBTs. I notice that there's a enemy plane showing up. I don't have any air-to-air weapons, and I do another bombing run, and there's another enemy plane showing up, so I dip. Now, let's talk about landing performance. Like I said in the intro, the AJ37 was designed to land on a dime. So I'm approaching the runway, I have my air brakes out, I have my gear out, and I'm going about 200 miles per hour. I decide to drop flaps there because they don't start engaging until about 180. I'm going about 150. I touch on the runway, hold my brakes, turn on thrust reverser, turn my throttle all the way up, and like in real life, this plane stops on a dime. It is incredible how quick it stops. Now, after that, after I got jumped by 13 different planes and somehow survived, I decide I'm going to take my air-to-air loadout. I have a Su-25 locked up. I can't see him until just now. I see his smoke. Somehow I kill him there. I don't know how. I just was spraying and praying and I killed him. So that's kill number 1 in Sim with the AJ37. I go fly around and I see on my radar scope that there is someone above me. Not entirely sure where he is, so I decide I'm going to try and do some weird maneuvers with my radar guiding me in. I still don't see him at this point. I see him on my replay, but I don't see him until just now in the game. It's a MiG-25, and he is in a dive with full afterburner like an absolute genius. So he loses a wing, and he loses his life to my missile. So that's kill number 2 in Sim with the AJ37. I continue flying around this tank. This is where all the tanks spawn, and it's a capture point, so I continue trying to capture the point, and I notice that there is another enemy MiG-21 in the area, and I'm trying to get my radar lock on him. I see him there, get my radar lock, and I pull some lead, wait for him to stop dropping flares, or I think that was my friendly dropping flares there, launch the missile. That's kill number 3 in Sim in the AJ37. Eventually I cap the point, I land, I come back, look around for some people, land again, come back again, and there is someone over the ocean flying, and I'm all like, I need to get him, but I need to see what he is first, so I'm not fully engaging until I see him. It's a Su-25, so I decide, stupidly, I'm going to go in a head-on. I don't know why with me and attack vehicles, I always decide to go on a head-on with him, but I do. I die, but he loses his rudder, and he jumps out. That is kill number 4. Now, same area, I take off again, and I think it's the same Su-25 flying over the ocean. I go after him. I see him on my radar scope. I see him here. I go for the head-on again because I'm desperate. I'm trying to get an ace before the match ends. I launch my guns. He launches a missile, and we go into a traditional dogfight. Now, somewhere along in here, there is a friendly, and I don't really see him up until the very end, but he is also trying to fight this MiG-25. Now, this maneuver here, this is a very special maneuver. He's going underneath my nose. I go 0 throttle and try and pull back on him and get behind him. Somehow this works without me colliding with the ground. Never try this at home, kids. That was a really stupid maneuver. I don't see him again because I'm passed out. I think my friendly right there is him, but it turns out no. He's directly in front of my nose. I try to launch a missile at him. It completely misses because I just didn't have enough lead, and the RB-24s don't pull like that. They are not R-73s. So I go into this little loop, launch my missile blind, still have the radar lock, and he dies. So that is an ace in the AJ37 in simulator battles. It's pretty darn good. So what's my conclusion on the AJ37? I think the AJ37 is probably one of the most underrated fighter jets in the game, probably the most underrated in the Swedish tech tree. With its overall great post-stall performance, its ability to pull out flaps in basically any stall situation and immediately get the advantage, and its incredible thrust weight, I think I would give this plane on the underrated scale a 10 out of 10, and on the as the planes go scale, a 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a good one. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your life. I don't know. I don't care. See you later. Bye.